Hello, Hidden Gems. Happy Midnight Live, because that's what we do here, right? At Hidden True Crime is um, everyone can join with us when there's insomnia. Oh, you guys can't hear. Hold on. Maybe this is why. Is that better? Maybe I need to remember my microphone. So typically my microphone is on a stand, and tonight I don't have my stand. Let me make sure it's working too. Let's see. Testing, 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 testing. Okay. All right. Well, I have been collecting for the past 2 weeks different transcripts, putting them, working really hard. A big thank you to, this is a team effort to get very specific transcripts for all of the recordings and the bombshell evidence we've been hearing in the courtroom during the Chad Daybell trial. And I am always saying, and I'm going to bring it to you. I'm going to bring it to you and share it. And there's always been something kind of big going on, and it just hasn't happened. So, midnight or not, we're going to do some transcript reads. I just want to go over everything that we've heard in court. So this is what we've got planned. I want to go over the Ian Pawlowski FBI recordings. Those were huge. Those were wild. We have the full transcripts. I want to go over the bombshell jailhouse recording that we heard in court this week as well. That was huge, between Chad and Lori on June 8th, 2020, the day before the children's bodies were found in Chad Daybell's yard. And then I want to go over some of the texts that were read in court between Chad and Lori by Agent Hart. I have all of those. I was going to read all of those texts at Lunch Live, but as you know, something else happened in court on Thursday. And I want to take you behind the scenes there too. In fact, before we read all these transcripts and go over them, let me give you the behind the scenes of what happened in court. I went live at lunch. Many of you have seen that live, when for a moment, and by moment, I mean about 2.5 hours, we thought that we might not see justice for 7-year-old JJ Vallow in court because of a typo. A typo on the indictment that they had amended just in February of this year. So the indictment was correct for years until February. They changed it. Something else, they were changing the wording. And then they accidentally put the death date to Tylee's and not to JJ's death date. Thus, that was what the jury was presented with. Thus, the evidence did not match up, and they couldn't necessarily convict Chad Daybell in JJ's death and first-degree murder if the evidence didn't match up. After I left court that day, so it was so shocking in court, and I just want you to know, everybody, we walked out. We were in court just shocked. And we walked out, and everybody just kind of stood around, at least where I was, on the 4th floor. Usually at that moment, everyone kind of just divides ways. I have to sit down in a chair and kind of ignore everyone and work on my lunch live. Just kind of look at all the notes I have and decide what's most important to me before I go live at lunch. And I don't really talk to anyone, and I'm just like preparing. And everybody goes their separate ways. They go grab lunch or whatever. This time, everyone just like sort of stood there. Like, what in the world? What just happened? We were all staring. We're like, are we not going to see justice for JJ after 5 years of this? And everyone was just standing there looking at somebody else to help them. Like, it was like we were all just like, can somebody help us sort this out? We were all just staring at one another. And it was a group of us. And so then we said, wait, where's Larry? So by running, I mean, we took the elevator. All of us huddled in the elevator together. I don't know. There were maybe like 15 of us upstairs still. And then we're like, let's go find Larry. Let's go find out. So we go down to the 1st floor, and we're all walking out, and we realize that Larry's already out there and he's giving live interviews. That's when I flipped on my YouTube live at lunch on Thursday. And then I started recording, the interview with Larry that he was doing. It was almost like a press conference, and it was just sudden. And he was like, "I can't believe this. I can't believe this." The interview stopped, and I love Larry Woodcock, and I'm his dear friend. And stopped, and I kept my phone on, and he walked over to a bench, and he just sat down dazed, and I sat down next to him, and I don't need to explain it again. You guys saw my lunch live. That's where my lunch live starts. And you guys, again, you saw my lunch live. I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. I actually called, I was with somebody, we called the lawyer. Many people have sent the video of Peter in his car, the lawyer. That is because we called him at lunch. We told him what was going on, and he did that live. We were like, what's happening? We relayed what he shared with us to Larry. And I also showed you at lunch. What was interesting is, again, everyone was in such shock. I turned my lunch live around and I showed everyone what was going on. And you could see that people were just huddled around, standing around. Nobody could go get lunch. We all thought we were going home. We thought court would end early. We didn't even think we were going to have a lunch break, let alone a 2-hour lunch break. And I turned my phone around and I showed that there were just a bunch of people standing around Larry and me. We were just sitting there like, again, what do we do? I stopped my lunch live, and then what happened after, so all of you know, is we all stood up, and I said, "You know what? I'm gonna buy everybody lunch." At this moment, these are strangers and friends together. Not all of us knew everyone there, but we were all just kinda there, and I said, "You know what? Let's go back upstairs. I'll buy everyone some Jimmy John's, and let's just sit there and eat and take some time." But before that happened, Larry said, "Please, we're all here. Can we say a prayer?" And we all huddled together and held hands and huddled. And Larry offered a prayer that everything was going to be okay. And then at that moment, Kay came to the courthouse. She wasn't there. And she was really upset. And she grabbed Larry and they embraced. And that was the picture I took that I shared on social media. It was a really real moment. Just without thinking, they just embraced one another. Like, is this really happening? So at that moment, we all went upstairs, again, strangers and friends, but we all came together. I mean, one thing we all have in common, whether we know each other or not, is we all want justice for JJ, and we were just beside ourselves. So we went back up to the 4th floor, and I put my phone around, and I asked everyone on the 4th floor what they might want from Jimmy John's, got everyone's order, and about 15 minutes later, 10 minutes later, true to their marketing, their fast, a big cardboard box of Jimmy John's came up to the 4th floor, and we sat there and we ate. It actually is the first thing I've ever ordered myself for lunch in a month and a half. But we all sat there, we ate, we passed around the Jimmy John's, and sat and waited. And it was the longest 2 hours ever. As far as what I feel about Judge Boyce's decision and his argument, I felt it was a good one. I feel like Judge Boyce set a new precedent in there, and he did it well and wisely. And I feel good about it. Will there be appeals by John Pryor? Yeah, probably. But I feel good about what Judge Boyce said, where he said this was a typo, clerical error, and a very unfortunate one. I love that he brought up that John Pryor did not bring it up, so it wasn't, partial or something that the defense necessarily cared about, that he caught it, that that there was no decision to change this, that it had been right for years and nobody even okayed the change. So anyway, it was a wild, frightening Thursday in court. Today's Friday. It's today Friday. Yeah, so that was yesterday. We had the day off today. So when people are like, "Why aren't you sleeping?" I was able to sleep in a bit tonight. Not that long, but I was. and I've just had the time to kind of simmer and sit, and I just wanted to share those behind the scenes with all of our gems. I left everyone hanging after the lunch live, and I never went live again last night. I was on Web Sleuth. You can check that out. But I just kind of wanted to let you know what happened and share a little bit about that day and what was going on. Um yeah. So, and before that moment, everything was going great. It was the prosecution rested, super big deal. And they ended on Agent Hart reading what I believe are some of the most damning texts between Chad and Lori. The things that always got me about increasing a child's pain or decreasing pain tolerance. We've learned that Chad Daybell has dubbed many children dark during this trial. It's not just JJ and Tylee. I think I counted about 7 different children that he's dubbed dark, from Melanie Pawlowski's children to JJ and Tylee, of course, to someone that went to church with him, to Danica, who was his niece, and on and on. So, why don't we start by reading a few of the texts that were read yesterday morning in court? Because that's what I was planning to originally do with my lunch live. Let's start with that. And I want to give a special thanks to Trista. She's often in the chat on YouTube. She was helping me to transcribe this. There were some texts on the screen that she could see and I couldn't, because we were on the left side closer to Chad. I was really looking at Chad throughout all this. And so she helped me. So a big thank you to Trista and all of those that have helped. The other transcriptions tonight, I want to give a big thanks to Troublemaker Baker, our moderator. We have the best community. Guys, by the way, my cough, it is better until I start going live. And then it decides. It's almost like I think part of it is anxiety now. I'm worried about the coughing, and so it happens. I want to thank, if you're listening, Debbie, to a hidden gem, Debbie, who gave me an incredible gift and some eucalyptus and some stuff. And thank you for all of your thoughts on the cough. I swear, I cough more in my lives than anywhere else. It needs to stop. All right. I'm going to pull these up. It's good to see you all here tonight. I'm surprised. I hope our overseas gems are enjoying this. Thank you for sticking with us through this whole trial. All right, these are the text messages by Agent Hart read yesterday morning in court. I can't believe, by the way, it was yesterday morning. It feels like a week ago now. So much has happened. So yesterday morning, Friday, day 25, I believe, in court, the day the prosecution rested in the Chad Daybell trial. Here's the evidence that we heard. Text message, Lori to Alex. I'm finding out some great stuff about you. I'm going to do some dealings. I can't wait to share all the things I learned about you. You're going to like it. Explains a lot. Alex to Lori. Okay, hurry up. Lori to Alex. I'm going to check everything with my source tonight to make sure I got it all right, but it's really good. We can talk about it tomorrow, hopefully. Chad to Lori. I've been instructed to focus my efforts on Hillary, and so I will. Kissy face emoji. Hillary is Tylee's zombie name. That's Tylee. Lori to Chad. Okay, find out her percentage and for me and JJ. Chad to Lori. She is at a 0.13. I turned up the pain to 10 and I placed a spiritual virus on her. He, JJ, is at 99.999. Raphael visited him and told him to follow Amy into the light. And I also assured him that James would love, James is Chad, that James would love and take care of his mommy, which he will with all of his heart and soul. Lori to Chad, this is sweet. I miss you desperately. This is sweet. After he just said he was going to take Tylee's pain up. Chad to Lori, you are so adorable, beautiful, wonderful, heavenly, luscious, and angelic. So many divine attributes rolled into one dynamic, desirable package. I want you even more desperately than you want me. Kissy face emojis. Chad to Lori, just grab me by the storm and I will follow you to the ends of the universe. By the side note, at this moment, the prosecution did ask Agent Hart what the storm was, and Agent Hart was able to reiterate once again what that was. Lori to Chad, what might that be? Chad to Lori, Wednesday evening, and then repeatedly and gloriously until Friday. Lori to Chad, and then what? Back to crying and saying goodbye? Back to the box? Chad to Lori, the trip to Utah has a lot of finality to it. I was told extreme changes are coming for me and to Utah. I welcome them both. Lori to Chad, what's Blake's percentage? Blake, by the way, is Melanie Pawlowski's 3 to 4-year-old child. He drew crosses on the wall in his bedroom. We just finished painting over them. Lori to Chad, like he was marking it for the dark side to find him. Lori to Chad. Chad to Lori. Blake is at a 7. So I took my sword of light and sliced his aura vertically in several places. You should be able to rip and burn it. Chad to Lori. You also decreased his pain tolerance to 1% and greatly increased his pain. Chad to Lori, let me correct that. Chad to Lori, I also decreased his pain tolerance to 1% and greatly increased his pain. His desire to depart is at 80%. Blake, a little child. Lori to Chad. Good morning, sunshine. Missing you. I didn't sleep much. Need you to check on JJ. Weird stuff happened in the middle of the night. It's like distracting us with Blake. Lori to Chad. When you get him, check Tylee. She is being super sweet and helpful, and she cleaned her room. See if she got switched. It's totally not her. Lori to Chad. See if she got switched. Chad to Lori. Yes, she was switched. Please let me know when you can talk and I will explain it. Chad to Lori. How are things at home? Lori to Chad. She's fine. I need you to check JJ. She said he was calm and he watched movies all day, which he would never do. Lori to Chad. Missing you. Chad to Lori. This is now 7/26/2019. By the way, so we're talking like 2 weeks after Charles was killed, less than 2 weeks after Charles was killed. Chad to Lori, missing you too. It is still JJ. I'm told that she is lying about him being Z and watching movies. Lori to Chad. Mel knew. She called me. She felt the real Brighton last night, and she knew she was different. Brighton is Melanie Pawlowski's other child. She was told I didn't want to tell her. She was taking it well and knows it's all part of a big plan. She is amazing. So Melanie Pawlowski now knows this is all part of a big plan, that her children are all dark. Although I'm still pretty upset about it. I love you. Trying to hang in there, missing your kisses. Chad to Lori. One question. Do you want me to up the pain yet to those 2 3s you're writing with? Can you believe that? The 3s, the children she's writing it with, the 3s. You want me to increase the pain? Lori to Chad, hold off. Probably hold off on them until we arrive. They will be a mistake to deal with, but I'll text you if they start acting up and we can zap them. Kissy face emojis. Lori to Chad. Miserable, not mistake, she explains. Chad to Lori. Sounds great. Yes, if they are going to act up, we will give them a reason to scream. I love, cherish, treasure, and adore you. The wonderful memories just keep coming back. You are mesmerizing. Raphael is one lucky guy. Chad will give them a reason to scream, these children. Chad to Lori. I got the inspiration to go back to my original death percentages that helped us track Charles, Ned, etc. Tammy is very close. This is 7/30/2019, July, quite a few months before Tammy is killed, just a couple weeks after Charles was killed. So Chad writes that he got the inspiration to go back to my original death percentages that helped us track Charles, Ned, etc. Tammy is very close. Her percentage has fallen steadily since Eplos left. It is encouraging. Heart, kissy face emoji. Lori to Chad. What is the percentage now? What about JJ's? Chad to Lori. Tammy is at a 3. JJ is at a 2. Both are being heavily shielded to stop intruders. Lori to Chad, 7:01 p.m. 2 and 3%, not 0. Chad to Lori. I will explain when we talk. Lori to Chad. Okay, kissy face, flame emojis. Still feeling hot for you. Chad to Lori. Yes, we might need to release a little steam when we talk. Fire emojis. Anyway, this is a chart that checks what percentage mortals are still in their body. It worked for my friend's wife who died, my neighbor, George Bush, Stan Lee. I kind of forgot about it because we've been dealing with zombies and demonic entities. But this afternoon, Tammy said she felt lightheaded, as if her body and spirit weren't connected. Chad to Lori. I will update the list and figure out Brandon, Adam, and others. 8/7/2019, 10:48 a.m. Alex Cox to Lori. Inside the LDS building with Chad by a large picture of Christ. And he writes, look at the bubbies, which are men in Lori's life. On later that day, Chad to Lori writes, inside the LDS building, and it's a Chad by a large picture of Christ and Alex Cox. And Chad writes, 2 exalted beings. So by a large picture of Christ and a picture of Chad, Chad writes to Lori and says 2 exalted beings, meaning Chad and Christ. Talk about couldn't be further from. 8/7/2019. Lori to Chad. I love you, heart. Taking Braxy home now. I'll check on her. That's another one of Melanie Pawlowski's children. Lori to Chad. She is asleep. She put a bunch of holes in the walls and doors. Definitely had demons helping her. Probably 1,000. Lori to Chad. Mel wants us to come up there tomorrow, but I said next Thursday to Sunday. What do you think? Lori to Chad. We are both so tired of taking care of demons. We are weary. Please ask the Lord to take them. Ask the Lord to take the demons, which are the children. Melanie Pawlowski's children. Lori to Chad. Excuse me. Before I continue, because this is so shocking, I want to share that there is when John and I were in Dateline, for the Dateline titled Doomsday Files, when all of the evidence dump happened and the producer called us when Keith Morrison said loin fire. One of the things they asked us to do, John and me, was to go over some never before seen footage that they were going to release in the Dateline episode, which was body cam footage of Melanie Pawlowski trying to get her children back from Brandon's parents in Utah. So Brandon had been shot at this moment and had gone into hiding with his children. And he was in Utah at his parents' house. And this was Melanie Pawlowski coming. At this point, Tylee and JJ were dead. And Charles was dead. And they were coming to try to get her children, and she was producing papers that claimed that she should legally have her kids, while Alex sat in the truck. The most shocking thing about that to us was, what were they going to do once they had the kids? And if you want any more idea, hearing these texts, it's just as shocking, and I am so glad these children are safe. 8/10/2019, Lori to Chad. Please check JJ. So this is at 1:18 a.m., by the way, around the time we're doing this live. Please check JJ. He just woke up saying crazy stuff and he will not go back to sleep. He is talking to Blake. It is weird. Chad to Lori. JJ is still JJ. I am told his spirit recognizes Blake and is unsettled by him. Chad to Lori. Hi, my love. How is JJ now? This is now at 8:28 a.m. Lori to Chad. He's better. He was just up talking nonsense for like 2 hours last night. I'm sure they were bugging him. Is he at a 0 yet? I miss you. August 10th, 2019, a month after Charles is killed. Chad to Lori, 9 a.m. Yes, he is at a 0. He probably was partly through the veil, talking to people, both light and dark. Lori to Chad. Maybe he was talking to the real Blake. Chad to Lori. Yes, that was the real Blake. August 10th, 2019, Lori to Chad. Do you think there is a perfectly orchestrated plan to take the children? And we just have to wait for it to be carried out? Lori is asking Chad this. Lori to Chad also writes, I feel lost, like I should be doing something. Chad to Lori. There is a big plan being orchestrated for the children. I was shown last night how it will fit together, but it has been taken from my mind, of course. Lori to Chad, 9:11 a.m. What should I be doing? Chad to Lori, you are doing everything right, my love. The Lord told me she is right on track. He said to just keep resolving the celestial issues so you are unencumbered and fully free. Chad to Lori, that actually feels good that JJ was talking to the real Blake, getting close. When I was sitting across from him eating bacon, I sensed he was barely attached to his body. Chad to Lori, you're so incredible in many ways. Your mission has barely begun. Lori to Chad, as long as it ends with you, it's all good. Fire emoji. Chad to Lori, yes, cheek to cheek, loin to loin. Lori to Chad, I wish I could be with you, cheek to cheek. Chad to Lori, I seriously cannot stop crying. I was allowed to feel my own emotions. I will experience as you sing to them. And the love, admiration, and reverence I have for you is indescribable. Everything we do together is going to be spectacular. Lori to Chad, I cannot wait. Literally can't wait. I have no patience. I want you now. Fire emojis. Chad to Lori, I'm certainly your biggest fan. I love you, Lily. Hold on, my sweet angel. We're so close to the finish line. Kissy face emojis. Lori to Chad, I'm trying. Chad to Lori, we'll make it. 9/3/2019. Alex to Lori at 11 a.m. Wi-Fi is in. What you doing? So a reminder, this is when they have moved to Rexburg. They've just moved to Rexburg. 9/3/2019. They're getting Wi-Fi. So Alex to Lori, Wi-Fi is in. What you doing? Lori to Alex, working on Z's. Z's are zombies. What did you decide on username and password? Alex to Lori, network name is anti-layman. Password is too many kids. Too many kids. That's the password. Lori to Alex, funny, 2 exclamation points. Alex to Lori, and you can change it to whatever you are wanting. You want to change it. I am proud of you. No more Z's. Lori to Alex, we are trying to get to the bottom of what we need to do to eliminate them completely. I'm sure you will be told also. Alex to Lori, excellent. And then we have the last known photo of Tylee and the last known photo of JJ. On 9/22, last known photo of Tylee and last known photo of JJ was at 9/22. Last known photo of Tylee was September 8th. So let's see. Let me skip these. Okay. 10/3/2019, Chad to Lori. Good night, Angel Lily. I'm so excited to go on our date. Lori to Alex Cox. We are supposed to go on a real date tonight, but we are discussing it. Perhaps an evening at home would be better so we are not out and about. I'll let you know. But you could come and sing with us after you shower. Chad to Lori at 4:25 a.m. Hello, sweet angel. I have news about Tammy. Please let me know that you are awake and can talk. I love you. On, on October 5th, 2019. Chad to Lori. The short version is that she, Tammy, has been switched. Tammy is in limbo. A level 3 demonic entity named Viola is in her body. It happened at about 10 p.m. and was done by Tammy's sister Sam, who I always knew was 3 dark, but it turns out she is multiple creation. Viola has been attached for about a year to my niece Danica, who is Sam's 12-year-old daughter. I have connected with Tammy in limbo, and she is very frustrated and upset. She wants Viola removed as soon as possible. Viola seems to be similar to Penelope. The personality differences from Tammy should be evident quickly. Please seek a confirmation on this, but I have now fetched 3 times since I got home, and I get more, or checked, checked 3 times, and I get more affirmative answers each time. On October 5th, 2019, Chad to Lori. Sam is much like Brandon. She has been my biggest enemy over the years. She refused to read my books and threw the biggest fit when we moved to Idaho. Oh, heaven forbid someone didn't read your books, Chad. Let's just label them dark. She's only visited us when the kids got married and always fled Idaho within hours, like she was being burned. She's definitely comparable to Brandon in summer. And in other words, Chad has a pattern of just labeling anyone dark that doesn't completely feed his ego. Chad to Lori. Not fully sure of timing for removal, but once her actions verify the differences, I don't want to wait. That is a damning text. Chad is taking control. I'm not sure of the timing, but once her actions verify the differences, I don't want to wait. He is referring to his wife of 30 years, Tammy Daybell. 10/19/2019. I'm not sure if you heard, but Chad's wife died last night. This is someone to Lori. 10:33. I'm not sure if you heard, but Chad's wife died last night. This is at 10:33 a.m. Lori to that someone. Oh my gosh, I didn't hear that. I'm in Hawaii and at 6 a.m. Lori to someone. Do you know what happened? This someone to Lori at 10:37 a.m. Yes, she awoke in the night, coughing, threw up, collapsed, and passed away. 10/19/2019 at 9:52 p.m. Lori to Chad. Not fun without you. Can you call me? This is the night that Tammy Daybell died. Lori to Chad at 10 p.m. How are you doing is the question. Chad to Lori at 10:11 p.m. I'm hanging in there. My parents are staying here and we are getting visitors, but I will call you soon. At 10/20/2019, Chad to Lori. Percentage of the body. 24, 11, 14. Chad to Lori. Great job on lowering them. I love talking with you. It's a baby night, so come get me later. Okay, it's weird, baby night. Chad to Lori. Missing you so much. I can feel you in bed with me, though. I can't wait to truly hold you tightly every day and night. Lori to Chad. I'm missing you more. I need you desperately. I cannot wait. Lori to Chad at 7:15 a.m. I need you to hold me tight. That would be great. What about the idea of you coming here Thursday or Friday? Or do you want me to come home? Chad to Lori. Their apartment is haunted and we cannot clear the place. So they are looking to move away and I have the perfect place for them. I need to be here and get sorted the financial stuff. And I truly need your help. So please come home Thursday so we can spend the night together. Then as soon as I have things under control, we can return. I seriously want you to look for a condo for us while you are there that we could return to at the first of the month. Chad to Lori, 10/20/2019, the day after Tammy Daybell is killed at 8:12 a.m. before she got the text from the someone. I want to get going full steam in the Lily workout plan, tighten the abs, get a full body tan, grow my hair out. This could be really good for both of us. Lori to Chad, 8:15 a.m. I love that plan. It's not soon enough though. This is torture. Maybe you need to clear my mind so I can remember how much I love you. Chad to Lori. I will try, but it feels like Raphael and Lily are together about 100%. Not sure it will ever be lower again. 10:20, 8:20 a.m. Lori to Chad. That's true. I do feel you. I feel lovesick. I can't sleep. I don't want to eat. I just want you. It's so consuming. A day after his wife is killed. Chad to Lori. 8:25 a.m. I know exactly how you feel. I'm feeling sad, but it isn't for the reason everyone thinks. Think about that. He's feeling sad, but not for the reason people think. Not for his wife who just died. He's feeling sad for another reason. Lori to Chad, 10/23, 2019. I had a bad dream about Al. Make sure he is still him and protect him. Kissy face. Lori to Chad. He would be the one they use to get us both. He is all this alone time is not good for him. In other words, Lori might be worried that Alex, their hitman, might start to realize he's their fall guy. I had a bad dream about Al. Make sure he is still him and protect him. Lori to Chad. He would be, Chad to Lori. I will try to reach out to him later today. I just cleared all of Al's weapons, curses, and cords and filled him with malachite healing balm. I also put angels around him. So there you go. That was the powerful last testimony of witness Agent Hart on the stand before and right before the prosecution rested. Pryor went into cross, and it was pretty uneventful, and here we are. Pryor went back to trying to blame Lori at cross, left the raccoon and Melanie Gibb alone for a moment, and all was going well until, again, that moment yesterday that you guys all saw that almost changed everything in my lunch live. So here we are. I want to read now. Let's see what we have time for. It's late, but thanks for being with me, guys. 1 second. 1 second. Hey, what do you guys want? I was going to read the Ian Pawlowski calls and then get into the bombshell Jailhouse recording. Does that work for everyone? Or do you guys want me to skip the Ian Pawlowski calls for another night and just do the Jailhouse recording that was this week between Lori and Chad? I have it all. I love it. Who cares if it's late? I know, right? Who cares? All right. Okay. The Jailhouse. I'm reading. I'm pausing while I read. Okay, let's do this. Let's just keep going. Let's do it. I'm awake, and these are all the things I've been wanting to share with all of you. So let's just do it. So let's start with the Ian calls. So for those that missed that, this was not this week. It was the week before. Or was it 2 weeks ago? Guys, the entire trial is a blur. Sometimes I can't believe that I have been in Boise, Idaho for almost 2 months. So, but Ian Pawlowski's calls were a big moment in trial, and we call them the Ian Pawlowski calls. They are not Ian Pawlowski calls, but it is a recording that Ian Pawlowski made for the FBI. Who is Ian Pawlowski? Ian Pawlowski was the new husband of Melanie Boudreau Pawlowski, also known as Melanice. Melanie was married to Brandon Boudreau, who was then almost shot at, or was shot at, was almost killed. And then Brandon went into hiding, and his wife, Melanice, Lori's niece, moved to Rexburg, believed Chad, believed her Aunt Lori, believed Alex, her uncle, and, allegedly believed, who knows, but seemed to certainly leave her children behind and joined this group of misfits, criminals, more like it, Zulema, etc. And then she then divorced Brandon and met and married Ian Pawlowski. As soon as Ian Pawlowski on their wedding night listened to Melanie's share more of this belief system, his heart on his wedding night, can you imagine this, all of a sudden worried that something happened to JJ and Tylee. And he was very, very worried about them. I can't imagine a wedding night like that. They eloped in Las Vegas, and his wedding night was filled with fear that 2 children might be in trouble and murdered. He was so afraid that he went to the FBI with his ex-wife or to the law enforcement, told them everything. And they said, the FBI asked him, "Will you record?" And he said, "Yes." And Ian Pawlowski, I want to say, is a hero, because even though he was on his honeymoon, he was the first adult to actually put the children before anything else, including his new wife or his honeymoon. And he made these recordings. We did not hear these recordings last year. We knew about them, but they decided to not bring them forward in Lori's trial. So we only heard them in Chad Daybell's trial for the first time. To me, they are shocking. So shocking that I requested help from Troublemaker Baker to transcribe them, because they're very they're not the clearest recordings, and you've got so many different people talking. I wanted to understand them more. So let's do this. As Texas said, let's do this. Hey guys, I'm here. I know that I'm on mute. I just realized that I have, wait, I just need to make sure I have both of them. Clip 1. Okay, I have them both. Ian Pawlowski wire. That's what we need to call it. It's not a phone call. The Ian Pawlowski wire. So I have clip 1 and clip 6. So this is the December 6th to 8th range when it was recorded on his honeymoon. Yes. I have a roommate here with me, guys. It's awesome. She's listening. So yes, on his honeymoon. And so it starts with Lindsay Blake saying, "Your Honor, I'd like to publish this first portion." Judge Boyce says, "You may." And we hear 3 voices. We hear Melanie Pawlowski say, "So?" We hear Alex Cox say, "What's that?" And Melanie Pawlowski says, "When Lucifer attacks." And this is where they stop it. Ian Pawlowski says he recognizes all the voices, that is Melanie, his new wife. And Lindsay Blake says, "Do you recognize the male voice that was heard?" He said he's not sure if it's Chad or Alex. And what you heard from Melanie, do you recall this being the recording from the day we talked about? Ian Pawlowski says yes, and she moves to admit the state's exhibit 266A. And here we go. Let me make sure you guys can hear me. Can you all hear me? Okay, sounds like it. All right. Gonna keep reading. Melanie Pawlowski. So in The Wire, Melanie Pawlowski says, "Go ahead." Alex Cox says, "You didn't hear about Gibb yesterday," meaning Melanie Gibb. Melanie Pawlowski says, and I'll call her, okay, Melanie Pawlowski says, "No, what?" Alex Cox says, "Well, she was talking to Dave." That's David Warwick. David Warwick, was it her husband then or her boyfriend? I think her boyfriend then. Alex Cox says, "Well, she was talking to Dave, and Dave, so the reason he wasn't moving forward in the relationship," right, they were definitely not married, "was because He never got a confirmation of zombies, Alex Cox says. Alex Cox says Dave, doesn't believe that she was really ordained, and that if she was really ordaining, then the 144,000. Melanie Pawlowski says, right. Alex Cox then says, so he's, Dave, not really buying anything. And Gibbs said she talked herself into thinking that the only way to clear her conscience is to call the police and tell them what she knows, which is that she never had JJ. And when she asked where he was, you and I told her she was better off not knowing. That's interesting because Melanie Gibb does say that Alex Cox said that said that Melanie Gibb was better off not knowing where JJ was. Melanie Pawlowski says, I said that. Alex Cox says, that's what she said. Melanie Pawlowski, she threw me under the bus for nothing. Wow. Alex Cox says, yes, walking in the park. Zulema Pastenis jumps in. No, not just you. She's throwing everybody under the bus. Alex Cox says she's throwing everybody under the bus because she felt the cops were, something I can't understand, Lori, and that was going to clear her conscience with God, which made unintelligible. I can't hear that. And they're talking over each other. We weren't able to get a solid transcription. And then Zulema Pastena says, Raphael. Melanie Pawlowski says, you what? Zulema, hold on. Melanie, Lori, I've waited. Bunch of talking over each other. And Chad Daybell, after a long pause while Melanie is crying. Melanie Pawlowski, are you there? Melanie Pawlowski then states, Mama. Melanie Pawlowski says, I'm here, Mama. Oh, I miss you. Lori Vallow's voice, and I miss you. Talking over each other. Lori Vallow, oh, perfect. Chad Daybell, good to hear your voice. Here's your daddy, Lori Vallow says. Chad Daybell then pipes in, hello, we're alive. Ian Pawlowski, she'll be able to hear you when she stops sobbing. Melanie Pawlowski crying very hard. Oh, I miss you guys. Lori Vallow, my baby. Melanie Pawlowski, I'm here. I was in the ER tonight and I'm just... Now, by the way, we have an interruption by Lindsay Blake. And Lindsay asks if she recognizes these people. Ian says he does. And the first man on the call, did you recognize his voice? Yes. And they explain who everybody is. And I'm going to skip this. Let's continue the recording. Oh, but Lindsay Blake does ask, could you tell who the man was? Ian Pawlowski says, yes, that was Chad. Lindsay Blake says, there's a reference to a mommy and a daddy. Ian Pawlowski, right. Lindsay Blake, was that in relation to Melanie as if she were a child? If she were their child? Ian, yes, correct. Yes. And are you talking about Melanie sobbing? Ian, yes. Were you present with Melanie? I was, Ian states. Blake, did she appear overcome with emotion? Ian, yes, she was relieved to hear their voices. She had not heard from them in some time. Ian explains that those first few weeks, they had a tendency to call in and then disappear and then come back. And do you know where Chad and Lori were located when this call took place? Ian says no. And then let's get to the next one. Lindsay says, we're moving to minute 26:07. This is Ian Pawlowski Wire, December 6th to 8th range, 2019. Again, at this point, it's the same date range as the last recording. At this time, everybody is that lost their lives is dead, has been murdered. It's December. It's before Alex's death, Alex Cox's death, and also before Tammy Daybell is exhumed. Lori says, oh, excuse me. Alex is dead at this. No, that was December 12th, right?
There's one recording where like Alex is passed and they're crying, but I don't know if you're there yet.
Oh, yeah. Maybe this is, let's find that out. Okay. We'll find out what this is. So Lori Vallow says, yeah, I don't think it's going to keep going. What could they possibly do? Melanie Pawlowski says, well, you said they were not going to stop until till they get what they want. So I don't know. I'm going to pause really quickly and explain that Melanie Pawlowski is talking about um, the police officers, law enforcement. And I'm also going to come over here and check that I'm good. Hey, everyone. Okay. Melanie Pawlowski said, well, you said they were not going to stop until, till they get what they want. So I don't know. Chad Daybell then interrupts her. You need to really get out of that complex, Chad Daybell tells Melanice. And then everybody's talking over each other. And Chad Daybell says, I mean, don't rush out of there, but and then the audio cuts out. Chad Daybell then states, they're not going to leave you alone. They can't tell what they said. That's the network. And then the audio cuts out. They're going to see you as a target since you're the only one that they can really find at the moment. For your own sake, for your own sanity, be best. Lori Vallow agrees. It's true, she says. Chad Daybell, we know you were led there and worked for 2 months for us as we planned and got together. And it's now the end. And now this phase of your life has begun. Melanie Pawlowski then asks, so his kids are in Rexburg and Natalie, she asks. Natalie, by the way, is the ex-wife of Ian Pawlowski. So she's explaining, so his kids are in Rexburg and Natalie, his ex-wife. So Melanie Pawlowski is explaining to Chad and Lori, I don't want to leave Rexburg because everybody's here, or Idaho, and Chad Daybell is saying, I know, but you don't have to move super far away. Melanie Pawlowski asks, just a different city? Chad Daybell, yes, Madison County. Melanie Pawlowski says, and then there's talking over each other. I can't tell. Melanie Pawlowski then says, well, it's in Rexburg. Chad Daybell says, I'm not saying that you have to decide tonight, but something that I can't tell they made out went from a blessed place. So Rexburg went from a blessed place to a cursed place due to the wickedness of the police. Lori Vallow states, yeah, we did not expect the police to be that wicked. Melanie Pawlowski says, well, if it's just going to be a couple of weeks, we could do an Airbnb and just stay in Idaho Falls somewhere. I mean, Ian works there, and that's close enough to where we could go pick up the kids and they wouldn't even know that we're not in Rexburg. But do you feel like a whole physical change of address, like we have to move everything to a new place, is what would be best? Chad Daybell states, I do. And all of those canes, I think they're not going to leave you alone until you're out of that city. Melanie Pawlowski states, oh, like the Latter-day Saints in Missouri. I just keep moving and I can't find a safe place. And she laughs. Lori Vallow pipes in, oh, baby, even sugar, even Melanie Pawlowski. So how do you get Hermosillo to stop? Because he's not going to stop. So he's so enraged with the whole thing. He was just pacing, yelling at me. He's like, I'm not going to stop for anything. So how do you resolve that, I guess, is my question. Chad Daybell, you get out of it. Lori Vallow then says, true. Chad Daybell says, he's not going anywhere. It's like the standard story where the wicked stay in one place and the righteous flee. In this case, it's not a whole community. It's you and Ian fleeing out of the way of darkness, like Lehi had to leave Jerusalem. Side note, Lehi leaving Jerusalem is the first story in the Book of Mormon. They leave Jerusalem because it's becoming wicked for the promised land. They talk over each other. Chad Daybell says, maybe get on Zillow or just whatever website and just investigate a little bit. Melanie Pawlowski says, well, I saw a cute little house for sale in Ashton is further from your work. So probably Ian Pawlowski pipes in, yeah, it's another 40 minutes. Melanie Pawlowski, probably Idaho Falls would be best. Audio cuts out. Melanie Pawlowski, but isn't Rexburg the place of safety when all the things happen? I just go throw this out here. Side note, Lawrence, I love that Melanie Pawlowski is pushing back so much. She's like, I'm not leaving. You said that this was going to happen. And they're like, well, I love that she's not buying it. She's like, wait a minute. You said this was the City of Lights, dude. And now you're changing your mind. So Melanie Pawlowski says, but isn't Rexburg like this place of safety when all things happen? Chad Daybell. Yes. But there's been a lot of prophecies and major turmoil there. The plague's going to sweep through Rexburg, civil unrest. I had a vision of 2nd and East where McDonald's is, and everything was just chaos. People starving, fighting. So there's still a stretch of bad time coming to Rexburg before it's a city of light. So we had to pave the way, but then we were told to flee. Lori Vallow says, I'm fleeing because of it's because of agency, right? So we're all told to go there. And that was where we were supposed to stay. And because of the agency of the dark, and because Lucifer is able to negotiate terms still to this day about eternal law, and he's been allowed to do certain things that had to force us out with the police. We had no idea that police were infiltrated with such dark people in Rexburg itself proper. So we ... Chad Daybell interrupts. It makes sense in retrospect, but you don't take that immediately. That little Rexburg would be planted with Cain's translated followers, but it makes sense. I just have to pause for a second and explain how absurd this confirmation bias is. That when things are going right, it's because their visions were right. But when things go wrong and their predictions are wrong, it's because of someone's agency, and what they're referring to is the freedom to choose, meaning because everyone has the freedom to choose. If God commands something and you go, but it doesn't work out, the reason it didn't work out is because even though God knew what was going to happen and told you that because people have their freedom to choose, they messed it up. So I don't know. But when things go right, it's because you're a visionary. So, way to decide you have the answers to everything. So Lori Vallow explains that it's because there's not so many light multiple creation beings there. And of course, the dark ones are there too. So opposition in all things. So we just feel like it's time to, just because of the situation, to not be there for a season. Ian Pawlowski explains, yeah. Lori explains, you do not have to go far, but just get out of the line of sight. Ian Pawlowski says, yeah. Melanie Pawlowski says, okay. Lori says, for your own sanity and Ian's, and for Ian to be able to go to work, it's not audio fumbles like you're okay there by yourself, you know? Melanie Pawlowski starts to give in. She says, okay. Melanie Pawlowski, yeah, it just feels that way. It just feels kind of eerie when Ian's not there. I just don't want to be there by myself. Lori, right. I mean, you've done everything to decorate that place so cute, do everything so adorable, but Chad Daybell interrupts. I was just looking on Idaho Falls rentals and it's several. They're just as good as your apartment there. Little houses, decent sized houses. Lori says, yeah, that one's really, Chad Daybell says, for about the same price. Lori Vallow says, that's really cute. Chad Daybell, yeah. Melanie Pawlowski, well, we'll go wherever. I live in a dumpster with Ian because he's laughing because he's been so amazing too. Chad Daybell then says, but Idaho Falls is a pretty good price in terms of rentals, especially this time of year. You should be able to find a nice one. Melanie Pawlowski, okay. Chad Daybell, I hate to say that, but it's just hounding me that you need to get out of the city. So again, this shows Chad Daybell's in charge. Like he is not letting this go. Melanie Pawlowski states, okay. Chad Daybell, I hate to say that, but it's just hounding me. You need to get out of the city. Lori Vallow says, you did great, babe. You did great. I'm so proud of you. Chad Daybell, oh, we love you. So amazing. They're all talking over each other. Melanie Pawlowski then says, he wanted to know who I went to Arizona with. So I just said, well, I drove with Ian. And Lindsay Blake stops at 33 minutes, 26 seconds and looking at the clock and says that we're going to break for lunch. The court took a lunch break. And after lunch, Blake starts the audio about 2 to 3 minutes before where she stopped it before break. So the audio is a repeat of what was said before the break. We're going to skip that. So then at 31 minutes, Lindsay asks, do you hear Lori talking about part of why they fled? Ian Pawlowski says yes. Lindsay Blake says, did you hear her talk about anything in relation to the police? Ian Pawlowski says that they had been infiltrated. Lori Vallow says in Rexburg itself proper. So and then Chad says it makes sense in retrospect. Lindsay Blake asks about Kane's translated followers, and then I'm going to continue. So she repeats some audio. 1 second. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to figure out. There is a repeat here, and so I'm looking. Okay. Melanie Pawlowski responds to Dad, aka Chad. I know, Dad. Dad, you were saying to get some money out just so Natalie couldn't like come after us finding out I had money and to try to get more child support or whatever. So I went and I got $50,000 out, and this banker came up. Ian Pawlowski, then the recording stopped, and Ian Pawlowski explains that she was referring to Chad. Lori Vallow says, how grateful we are. We love taking care of you. That's so sweet. Ian Pawlowski says, Mel, do you need another blessing? Melanie Pawlowski says, yeah. Can you give me and Ian like a combined blessing? Whatever comes from either of you. Do you have any questions you want to ask? Ian says, no, thank you. I just love thinking that Ian's like recording this time. He's like, I'm good. Just here having a wire on myself for the FBI. Melanie Pawlowski says, can I ask anything for him? Lori Vallow says, we don't know what Ian knows. Melanie Pawlowski says, Ian knows everything. I have not. Ian has figured out loads of stuff by himself, but so they stopped this recording for a little bit. And Lindsay Blake's, okay, I'm going to read what Lindsay Blake and Ian Pawlowski says. After stopping at this moment, Lindsay Blake asks Ian, did you hear the reference in there to you knowing everything? Ian Pawlowski says, yes. What is Melanie referring to? Lindsay Blake asks. Their religious beliefs, Ian explains, their mission that they had chosen, what they believed their role was in the world. Lindsay asks if Ian learned things about light and dark and about casting and about people being zombie. And Ian says yes. Lindsay asks if he learned this from Melanie. Ian says yes. Lindsay Blake then says, well, do you know where all these beliefs originated? Ian Pawlowski says, boom, 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 Chad. And there was talk of giving you a blessing. Do you recall if Chad actually followed through with that? Ian explains that he did, and that everybody took a part of it, and that they were doing the blessing over Zoom. And for this blessing, you are not present in the same place. Ian says, no. Was this out of the ordinary with what we would expect in the LDS faith? Yes. And so here we start this blessing. Chad Daybell says, we go to Mel and Ian and in Jackson and invite all the others, Ray Liel and Zulema. Chad Daybell explains to join us and all others in the heavenly realm that are willing to participate at this time. Ian Pawlowski says, come jump in, baby. Are we good? Okay. Just coming over here to check. So come jump in, baby, Ian Pawlowski says. Chad Daybell says, so right now, we all lay our hands on your head. This will be a dual blessing. Chad explains that he gave Zulema and Al blessings yesterday, and angels filled the room, and I feel the same number are there again. The same wonderful helper, angelic ministers are there happily joining in on this blessing. So at this time, they say, you, Ian and Melanie Pawlowski, have the power of the holy Melchizedek priesthood of the patriarchal order of which we are a part of in the name of the Savior Jesus Christ. Chad Daybell continues. And this is all Chad Daybell now for this entire blessing. We lay our hands upon your head and then unite, affirm our happiness for your union and how vital it is to the overall plan of our Lord and Savior these latter days. You are a powerful couple with unlimited potential, and you'll be utilized by the Lord in tremendous missions of light and salvation. For you'll team with Mother Earth to help cleanse the earth at times to earthquakes, moving mountains, changing rivers, and also healing hearts of mankind through your powerful testimony. Trials you're going through right now are events that you'll be able to share with others who are experiencing trials in the future. You'll be able to relate to them and understand what they've been through, the persecution that they face by supposed Christians, and you will make it so much easier for them to transition to accepting the gospel. I see you both all over the world through portals, helping those who need to come to Zion. I see you back and forth raising your children, but also leaving them in the care of trusted family members because of your great power and importance. Did you hear that, by the way? Raising children and then leaving them. It's kind of strange. But the reason you leave them is because of your great power and importance. You will spend the days and weeks at a time helping bring groups to Zion. Those are wonderful promises, and I know they will come true. To bless you now on a more personal level, Melanie, that you can quickly heal from your illness. The combined group will use their healing power to strengthen you and bless you. We reach into your physical body and extract any spiritual or physical illnesses, canes, phobias, all kinds of darkness that has been implanted in you. I remove it all. I sever all negative cords. And this blessing includes Ian, that we're doing this for you as well, Ian. Severing all, by the way, side note, remember how Ian was like, no, I'm good. Well, nope, they're blessing Ian. And this blessing includes Ian. They are doing this for you as well, Ian, severing all negative cords and clearing you of weapons and lifting curses that may have been placed upon you. Now I cleanse you of that darkness that was placed on you at the police station. Once again, we just thank you for your valiant way, your strong, resolute promotion for the gospel and to our team. What you've accomplished this week will resonate with you throughout your life and through the eternity of blessings that you receive for your faithfulness. And for taking the steps you have, I bless you now by binding your hearts together more than ever, literally wrapping around each other and putting cords of light around them, that you cannot be separated spiritually, and that even at times when you're apart in the physical world, you'll still feel that connection and unity. You are a special couple who have known each other in the past and have helped each other so much already, and your union will be looked upon as a true love story. Happiness and how to treat one another, like wearing a wiretap, will be an example of thousands and even millions of how a man and woman should respect and love each other. I bless your union and feel that the Savior is standing there with us and he is very pleased, very, very pleased with your choices. They may not make sense in the celestial world, but in the terrestrial and celestial world, they make perfect sense. And for your valiant efforts, you will be memorialized and they are singing praises in heaven. I see a choir of thousands, like they make up the songs as they go, like Lolo does, but they are praising you two right now and just singing to the heavens for what you've accomplished. And I do want to include Al and Zulema in this blessing again. Just what a tremendous friendship we formed. The six of us are on the right track. I assure you of that. I give you my testimony that this is a power team, that we are the genesis of the 144,000. And we don't say that boastfully. It just is the beginning of a new terrestrial order. And Ian, we're so grateful you're a part of it. We love you already so much. We miss you and can't wait to see you again. And we will see each other soon again. And it feels like we are going into different corners of the world for a short time. Changes are coming quickly to the earth that will allow us to reunite and not be under the pressure of the celestial police forces, that they will have greater problems to deal with. And even those that are pursuing you may have their lives. And that will open up the way for us to use our powers fully and to continue to cleanse the earth and to bless it. Mother Earth loves each one of us and knows that we will be helping her remove darkness from this world. I promise you a home in New Jerusalem. All of us will each have homes there. It will be our home base as we work under the direction of the Savior, and we'll have wonderful reunions there in between our missions. It will be a glorious place where the vibrations will just radiate constantly and we'll feel the love of the Lord tangibly. We will become beacons of light. We will be pillars of fire. Side note, that's a reference to the Visions of Glory book. We will become pillars of fire. Blessings that have begun for us will just continue to accelerate. I bless all of us one more time with physical strength, spiritual devotion, and emotional stability. And as we face these small but trying times, the trials are real, but we will overcome them. And the Lord is watching over us, and I leave this blessing upon us all in the name of Jesus Christ and throw it up into heaven. Amen. Lindsay Blake asks, Mr. Pawlowski, did you hear talk any there of portals? And do you know what's being referenced? Ian says, yes. My understanding is at the time, well, now and at the time, that upon reaching your certain ability, your level of spiritual worthiness and strength, you could open up a portal and step through it and land anywhere you saw fit. Then Lindsay Blake says, is that something you have ever learned about your religious teachings? And Ian explains that no, it was taught by Chad Daybell. And they go through all these things, what it means by cords, what it means by this, what it means by corrupt police, on and on and on. The other recording of Ian that I thought I had pulled up, which is what I was confused about when I brought it up, was after Alex Cox had died. It was a shocking recording that definitely implied that Alex Cox's death was planned and that they had planned it. Let me see really quickly if I can find it. I thought I had it up. If I cannot find it, we'll jump to this week's bombshell jailhouse recording between Chad and Lori. So let's see. The transcript of the call, reading it. We've heard it and you can hear it on our channel, Hidden True Crime. We have it there, the call, and I've talked about it, but just to read the transcript. Let's see. Okay. I don't have that. We'll worry about that later. But that was a big deal call. Some of the things I remember about the call before we move on, it was after Alex had died. Shortly after, Melanie Pawlowski mentions that she doesn't want Brandon, her ex-husband, to know because that she hopes Brandon fears him forever. There's some really odd conversation about Melanie Pawlowski being happy that Alex is there because he'll be there with Braxy and Breezy, her children that are alive on Earth. It's weird. That was the most shocking part of the call. And there's also reference to getting rid of Alex's stuff and sharing what Alex wanted done with his things once he was passed away. That Melanie Pawlowski had been told he wanted to give some of it to Deseret Industries. It's a thrift store. And that they didn't want his stuff and they didn't want to tell people he had died. It definitely implies that they all knew that Alex Cox did not die of natural causes and that the death was planned. We'll read that later. Let's jump to the transcript of the jailhouse call. Let's see. All right. So it was trial date day 24, which was May 15th, 2024. Rob Wood starts explaining what this is. Detective. So Ray Hermosillo is on the stand. Rob Wood is on direct. Rob Wood is the prosecutor. He explains, Detective, I believe you've testified and you've listened to many jailhouse phone calls, correct? And he explains that, yes, that's correct. Well, why did this jail phone call stick out to you? Rob Wood asks Lieutenant Ray Hermosillo. Ray Hermosillo explains that the content in which you're about to hear, what they were talking about and who they were referencing stuck out to us. And we spoke. This jailhouse phone call was recorded on June 8th, 2020. And do you recall the event that took place on June 9th, 2020? Ray Hermosillo tells Rob Wood, yes. Rob Wood asks, what happened that day? Ray Hermosillo explains that was when we served a search warrant on the Daybell property and found Tylee and JJ. Rob Wood says, so why did you listen to the June 8th recording before or after June 9th? Or when did you listen to it? Excuse me. Ray Hermosillo, it was after June 9th. Rob Wood, and Your Honor, may I publish this? Judge Boyce, you may. They enter it into evidence. Now, this part is interesting. I've brought it up before, and I'm going to bring it up now. They play a little snippet to identify the voices. Lori Vallow. States, in visions, under pillars of fire. That's what you were reading to me. Chad Daybell says, yes. Pause. In visions, what Lori is referring to is visions of glory. They nicknamed it visions. So in visions, she says, she's referring to visions of glory under pillars of fire. That's a section in visions of glory. Is that what you're reading to me? She asked. Chad Daybell says, yes. I read that another day. Was it yesterday, a couple days ago on YouTube? So my last trial recap. It was about the New Jerusalem and the millennium. Just checking the stream. Hey everyone, thanks for being with me. We just keep collecting more people. Please hit and like and subscribe if you guys appreciate this midnight reading with me. It means a lot that you're all here spending the night with me. Sorry I can't be very there in chat right now, a lot in chat. Okay. So they continue it. Lori Vallow, because this was all still before the second coming, she states. The Lord has ordained for us to begin the millennial day with Zion and her cities, while war and chaos reigned everywhere else. Again, so this is Lori Vallow is referring to what is under the Pillars of Fire and Visions of Glory book. Chad Daybell says, yes. Lori Vallow asks, so it was already like the millennium? There were all of your armies living in the millennial way? Chad Daybell, it's like a pocket. Yeah. Lori Vallow, the whole time? Well, Chad Daybell says, well, that's kind of how I've seen it as it begins with a family and then a neighborhood and then a town and then a city. And New Jerusalem is kind of the best example of that. And then he chuckles. Lori Vallow, right. Chad Daybell, yeah, it starts small, but it grows exponentially, referring to the New Jerusalem. Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell, well, and they're doing all they can to destroy one of the key families, but they're not going to. Both of them at this point chuckle. Lori Vallow, I mean, there's so much that I know. I was sitting here thinking about all the things. Audio cuts out. I know too much. Chad, yeah. Lori, I can't deny it. No, it's just a matter of time. I just don't know what the timing is. Chad, well, I texted Ray. Lori, yeah? Chad, he responded pretty quick. Rob Wood stops the recording to confirm who Ray is. Ray Hermosillo, the witness, not to be confused with the Ray in the recording, explains that Ray is a nickname for Alex Cox. And through their investigation, they learned Alex Cox often went by Ray Lamar, and his Gmail was raylamar@gmail.com. And that Alex Cox was dead at the time of this recording, because this recording was June 8th of 2020. Alex Cox died December 2019. He was deceased. So when they're referring to Chad texting Ray, they were referring to Alex Cox, who is dead. They also confirmed before continuing the recording that Chad Daybell says that he speaks to many dead people. And in this case, he's texting them. Here we go. Lori writes, well, that's good, referring to the text to Ray. Usually it's hard to get a hold of him. He's busy these days. Chad, he is, but he was. And I asked him what we talked about, and he is very optimistic. Laughs. Lori, it was very optimistic for you. Or is he very optimistic it could happen? Laughs. Chad, he is very optimistic for both of us. Lori, he doesn't know his own project's timeline? Chad, he said stick with it. Through that, what he projected in that paper he wrote. Ha ha ha. Lori, you know, house renovations always take longer than they think. Chad, that's the problem. Laughs. Lori, I've been watching that Extreme Pools. Chad, Lori, and the people are like 3 months out. from when they estimated they have it done. And they're like, well, we've had so many problems. We couldn't get into the backyard. We had to pull a crane over the house to get these huge rocks for the waterfall. Chad, I can remember last summer, Taylor, Mark's friend, parents moved into a trailer, like a camping trailer in the driveway, because they were going to build their house by the end of the year. And guess where they're still living? Laughs. Lori, really? Chad, they sold their house to their son. Laughs. It's just a weird situation, but you're exactly right. Yeah, it takes forever. Chad laughs. Lori, yeah, there's always something. Well, we didn't know when we dug in your backyard we were going to find whatever. Chad laughing. Yeah. Lori laughing. And then they're like, we have to redo all the piping. And then we had trouble with this. And then something else happened. But they try to make it sound like it wasn't really that long, but it's always like, oh, it's going to take 3 months. And then 3 months after that, they're like, okay, it took 6 months. Chad Daybell laughing. Lori, and you could come to our backyard and you couldn't come to our backyard at all. And now it's not summer anymore. Now it's winter and your pool is finally done. Chad, right. Lori, mostly they do it in Florida and places like that. So, Chad, Lori, so he's optimistic about his construction or construction? Chad, together with Lori laughing, problems. Lori, not problems, but plans. Chad, yeah. Lori, his construction plan, the blueprints. Are they still intact? Chad, yeah. Lori, with their timing? Chad. And I kind of just said, I texted him back. And what you said is, you guys are always a little off. And he laughs. Lori, right, exactly. We just want a real estimate. Chad laughs. Right. Lori, well, what did he say? Chad, he just laughed. Now they're talking over each other. Lori chuckles. Chad chuckles. They're talking over each other. Lori, so he did not confirm nor deny that fact. The contractors are always later than they think they're going to be. Chad, he's like, it'll work out. You know how he chuckles? He did want me to say he misses you, but he's not far from, contact. We can talk. We can text him whenever he wants. Lori, yeah, I can't text anybody, Lori explains. Chad laughs. Audio is garbled. Some text. Chad Daybell chuckles and mumbles. So I'm going to pause and just say this. Lauren's interrupting. Lori is saying, I can't text anybody, meaning only Chad can talk to dead people. So it's showing again that Chad is the one in control. Lori then says, will you just text for me? That's like me telling you, like, I need you to tell this person and talk to this person. Chad, I'll text him back, but he's, long pause, optimistic. That's what I mean. I want to go visit him and grab him by the throat and say, really? Lori, can he? She laughs. I know he's optimistic, but can he just make us any guarantees? I mean, we did make our down payments and everything else. Chad, a guarantee will. Lori, I would like a guarantee, just an end date of our project. Chad, well, he knows you pretty well. And he just laughs. Lori laughs. Chad, well, I asked him what he thought of the video project, and he said it was really nice. He loved it. Lori, that's good. Rob Wood then pipes in. They interrupt the recording. Rob Wood pipes in during court. Detective, through your investigation, were you aware of any video put out by Alex Cox around this time? Ray says yes. Not around June 8th, but shortly after Alex Cox died, his sister, Summer Shiflett, made a YouTube video with clips of Alex photos throughout his life and put it to music. And so we viewed that early on in the investigation, but that's what is being referenced here. And this is Lauren jumping in. I'm going to say, I have also seen this video. I saw when it was made by Summer. And the strange thing about it is it did show Alex's life. And I'll never forget, it had no pictures of JJ or Tylee. This is while the children were still missing. People were looking for him. And there was this memorial video of Alex, and it had no pictures of JJ and Tylee in it. And it was made by Summer. Just put a pin in that. I don't know what that means, but let's continue on with this. So back to the recording. Lori Bello says, yeah, well, that's good. Although I've never heard that song before. I don't know what that is. Maybe it's just something like on like iMovie or something that's on your phone. And she laughs. Chad, yeah, exactly. Lori, like one of the backgrounds you can. Then they start talking over each other. Chad, sure, mumbles. I'm proud just to have you talking over each other. Lori says, I don't know because I've never heard that one. I've just never seen the app, but I know people can do that. iMovie was always on my iPhone. I just didn't ever click on it. Laughs. Chad. Yeah, but he clears throat. He's frustratingly optimistic. And he laughs. Lori. Frustrating for us. Chad. Yeah, that's what I mean. Lori. Thanks for completing the project on time. Will they get a bonus if they do it? Chad. Oh, yeah, I'll give him a bonus. They both laugh. It was good. It was. It was good to talk. And I hadn't texted him in a while. So, Lori sighs. So he still wouldn't answer all of my questions in the same way. Do you think if I texted him? Chad. I think you ought to write down some questions for him and maybe even mail them off and see what happens. See if he'll respond to you. I have no doubt. Don't forget President Holland's talk, that snippet. He seemed like he wanted to text you if he could. Chuckles. Lori laughs again. Chad says, but yeah, it's all true. That's all I can say. Long pause. And it sounds like Lori is speaking, but her audio is muffled. Chad says, they haven't forgotten. Long pause again. It sounds like Lori is speaking, but her audio is muffled. Faint audio from Lori. I know they want to work on the project and they're not too happy. And then the audio trails off. That's how I scoped it out. Oh, just like, they seem to be audio trails off and they laugh. Chad Daybell says, well, there's some truth to that. And Lori laughs. It's good. It's good. Chad laughs. Then Lori says, do you know what I'm saying? And Chad says, nah, he's still very interested. He hasn't forgotten about us. Lori says, good. I know he has other projects, so I don't know how much audio garbled, but Chad Daybell jumps in to reassure he's involved in the latest batch. Lori says, well, remind him when you do text him back that at the beginning of this project, he said there was only a 3% chance that there would be trouble from certain aspects. And they're 100% trouble. And now there's 100% trouble because that's where it all started. Chad Daybell says, uh-huh. Lori says, so find out about that. Chad says, all right. Lori says, see what he has to say for himself on that issue. She laughs. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. Chad Daybell says, I do. And they're both chuckling. And he says, I do again. Lori then says, you know what I'm talking about? Asks him again. Chad Daybell says, oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. And he chuckles. Okay. And they laugh. Lori then says, well, I want to know why that is 100% problems now instead of a 3% chance of having a problem. Chad Daybell laughs. Well, I think he was somewhat right. And the other aspects was other people. It was a combination. Lori says, I know it was a combination. I'm not saying there weren't other problems, obviously. But what I am saying is that it's a combination of only, 5 problems. Chad says, I agree. And that was a big problem, Lori says. Chad says, I agree. It was a big one. Lori, well, my faith in those kind of guarantees are lower. Chad says, me too. Lori, and beggars can't be choosers. I get that, but you know what I'm saying? It's not like I get to pick the colors of everything that I want. He's just going to have to figure it out. Chad says, right. Lori says, and since I'm here and I can't be in charge of the project, and Chad interrupts and says, yeah, I've thought back on that entire scenario. Lori says, we went over the plans and the blueprints. Chad says, mm-hmm. And Lori says, well, and? Chad Daybell says, he said it wouldn't be a problem. And then Lori says, if it was, and then Lori says, and I don't doubt that. It's just strange how it blossomed. And Lori says, well, go ahead. Chad says, no, you go ahead. Lori says, well, I'm just going to say, I think it was meant to have complications and meant to go in that direction. And Chad says, well, at some point, yes. Lori says, well, then he should have said, hey, there is a 99% chance we're going to have trouble with this soil. Chad Daybell agrees. Lori says, could this potentially be good or do we have to fill it with sand? I think now at this moment, by the way, they're talking about the mobile home that Chad and Lori want to put over the remains of the children on Chad Daybell's yard. For those that aren't understanding, because they are talking part code, talking part real life, and they're making Alex in charge of everything since he's the contractor with blueprints. But they're talking about this permit that Chad has filed. So at this moment, Lori's getting a little bit more succinct. Could this potentially be good, or do we have to fill it with sand? Chad says, well, I think we sensed that we shouldn't take it lightly, and I don't think we did. I mean, we only discussed this matter with the trouble, in quotes, the trouble. And once I thought we cut it off and we did well, and now that problem is kind of causing its own trouble for itself. Lori says, right, but there are other things in the project when I'm going back over it that I could have easily done or been inspired to avoid a lot of the issues that have come up with this. Chad says, yeah. Lori says that we weren't made aware of. So do you see what I'm saying? So it was meant to go this way, I think. That's what I'm saying. Chad says, I do understand, and it's terrible. Minor changes here and there, but overall, this was part of the blueprint. I mean, I just wish it hadn't been, right? But I'm thinking of previous group blueprints where the people weren't born either. Just add me. But Ray is in the contractor position. Ray, again, meaning Alex. Ray is the one in the contractor position, Chad explains, for a reason. And he's not gonna drop us for another project. And he's short, and then he laughs. Lori says, well, can't he forcibly use a hand, punch someone in the face, and get things done? Some people in particular, like the 3%er person. Chad says, I don't think he wants to be violent, but Lori says, well, I'm not saying to be violent. I'm saying we get their attention. Chad says, me too. What he did, Chuckles, is kind of kept her in her place for quite a while to the point it almost diffused any value or concern. Chad says, well, Lori says, well, that's what I'm talking about. In the beginning, going back over the whole blueprint and all of the things we've been, I don't know what the word is, but when you go through it, a lot of stuff could have been avoided. Chad says, yeah. Lori says, with just some minor tweaks. And I don't know why it had to go down this road to where we are now in this project. Chad says, well, I don't fully understand. I think if he would text you back, referring to Alex, or write you back. But Lori, then, this is an important moment. Here we go, guys. We went through all of this transcript. This part is very important. Lori says, ultimately, Chad, what I need from you, Lori says, is that the project is going to be finished and everything is going to be fine and it's going to work out. Chad responds, well, that's what he said. He's going to Alex. He's blaming Alex for everything. Lori says, no. I need you to tell me this, Chad, every day, several times. Chad laughs. Okay, my sweet and lovely Lolo. Chad then says, things are going to work out, not just because he says so, but because I know so. It is a marvelous plan. Lori then asks, well, how do you know so? Chad says, how do I know? It has been shown to me. I have seen those beautiful eyes filled with tears as she sings to amazing groups of people, and I have seen her wonderful body dance to heavenly songs. Chad then says, and our purpose is only the beginning. It's hardly begun. And it will be the pair. It will not be solo. And it's going to be incredible. Chad continues. It will be eurythmic. No solo careers. But it's absolutely sure. I was saying it will be and it won't be 2 solo careers. I'm absolutely sure. And then Lori says, I know, but I'm saying you said you have absolute what? Confidence? Okay, here's the mic drop moment for Chad Daybell. Absolute assurity, confidence, confirmation. It's going to be as seen. There are some things that aren't going to be altered. Your value is tremendous, immense, and needed in every way. You're tremendous, my love. I know that as a fact. I think you are. You underestimate yourself. I'm not trying to give you a big head or ego because you don't have one. You are just spectacular, and the Lord is going to use those talents. You're on earth at this time for that purpose. I'll try to call you back so we can pray. Okay? Lori says, okay. Rob Wood then says, Your Honor, I have no further questions. So that was a mic drop moment because at that moment, Chad Daybell, no matter how odd this conversation is and the code that they were speaking in, Chad Daybell is saying, I am the one in control. This was my plan, and I am telling you. All right, guys, that's what I have tonight. That's what I had to just share. All of those transcripts. So tomorrow, everybody has been asking what Dr. John thinks of these transcripts. Not the transcripts, what Dr. John thinks of the recordings. I just read the transcripts for them. Well, John is digesting all of them, and tomorrow night for Hidden Hour at 6:30 p.m. Pacific, 7:30 Boise time, we will be discussing just that with forensic and criminal psychologist Dr. John Mathias. What does he think of all of this new evidence, these wild jailhouse phone calls and FBI FBI recordings from Ian Pawlowski? We'll have all of that tomorrow night. So head over there, hit like and subscribe. We're so appreciative for all of you, and we will keep the information coming. Tomorrow night, we also might go live again on Patreon. That's our plan. So we'll do about an hour, Hidden Hour, and then we'll jump over to do Q&As with our Patreon gems. We're so grateful for all of you, and I hope that this all helped tonight. I apologize that I have not been looking at chat. This was a last minute live. I don't even know if we have moderators in chat. Oh, no, we do. Ozzy Tad is here with us, right? Because she's in Australia. And then one last thing I want to share. If I can pull it up, I completely forgot to pull it up. So I don't think I can. But we do have, I did want to share. I'll share it later, but I'll share it tomorrow night. We do have some new merchandise by request for the pot stirrers out there. So I will let you know tomorrow. So we'll see you all tomorrow night or tonight, I guess. Tomorrow night, tonight. And 1 second. Hold on, let me. Okay, and one more thing. I shared a short tonight on YouTube. It's also on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook, all facebook.com/hidden true crime, Instagram/hidden true crime, TikTok, same thing. Consistent branding, guys. That's one thing we've got. But I shared a Cozy Cone short today. I have a video. It's a heartbreaking video because Tammy is in it, opening to the door to the Cozy Cone in Chad Daybell's house. Showing the inside, you'll see that it's not a garage, and that the garage is somewhere else, and that there's an upstairs loft with beds, and that Chad Daybell slept up there. I show that all in a minute short, so I recommend you go watch that. I think it's going to be very, very important to the defense, which I have talked about before for anyone that has missed that live. There's a reason that John Pryor is obsessed with the stairs in Chad Daybell's house and the fact that he was sleeping up there. And I have told everyone as much. I suspect that Chad Daybell and Tammy Daybell were not sleeping in the same room when she was murdered. And that Chad Daybell let somebody in and was in a different room. And I'm curious about who found Tammy. It could have been Chad and Garth finding her together. It could have been Garth finding her. But the stairs are important, I think, when it comes to the death of Tammy Daybell. And let's make it very clear that there are stairs in the house and that the stairs lead to a loft, which had a mattress, which is a place that Chad and others sometimes slept. And it is not separate from the house, and it's not a garage. So I hope you guys go check out that short and tell me your thoughts. And we'll see as the defense starts Monday, we'll see why this matters. All right, guys. We'll see you. Have a great evening, and I will go to bed. See ya. Bye-bye.